Okay. Merhaba. Bugün böyle çok private diyebileceğim, özel, çok özel insanlarla zaman ayırdılar, buradalar bizimleler. Çok mutluyum. Modül İstanbul'da, Masa 42'de, Modül İstanbul'da Urban Atölye'nin işbirlikleri vesilesiyle tasarım üzerine konuşmak için buluştuk. Urban Atölye'de farklı tasarımcılarla işbirliği yapıyoruz. Sanatçılarla, mimarlarla işbirliği yapıyoruz. Bu işbirliğinin yaratabileceği fırsatları görmek ve deneyimlemekten çok mutluyuz. Burada bugün iki değerli mimar tasarımcı Alexis Şanal ve Melike Altınışık'la beraberiz. Alexis'in son üzerinde çalıştığımız ürününün tamamlanmasıyla birlikte onun keyfiyle buradayız ve sizlere tanıtmak istiyoruz. Gökhan Karakuş'u benim yıllardır işbirliği yaptığım bir isim. Urban Atölye'nin canlanması, ayağa kalkmasında emeği, desteği çok büyük. Ama benim için burada önemli olan hani atölye diye, Urban Atölye diye bir şeyin olmasının ne demek olduğunu biz işte Özlem Yalım burada onunla defalarca konuştuk. Proses nedir, süreç tasarımı nedir, servis tasarımı nedir? Aynı şekilde Unica yıllardır burada Kerem Ariş ve Merve Ariş bizimle. Onlar senelerdir tasarımın bir aracı, bir arayüz olarak insanlara hitap etmek için nasıl bir şey olduğunu kendi küçük işbirlikleri, yani küçük derken boyut değil, 2 kişilik işbirlikleri ama onların da uluslararası anlamda networklerde kurdukları ilişkiler var. Onlardan bahsetmelerini çok isterim. Biz burada birkaç marka, birkaç isim, birkaç deneyim bir araya geldik. Biraz eğlenip, biraz sohbet edip sizlerle düşüncelerimizi bu pandemi sonrası ben diyemiyorum henüz. Kimileri pandemi sonrası diyor. Ama pandeminin kırılmaya başladığı diyeyim ya da hayatımızın artık prominent bir parçası, sürekli bir parçası haline geldi bugünlerde. İlk kez indoors, küçük ama iç mekanda bir söyleşiyle fiziksel olarak bir araya gelerek söyleşi gerçekleştireceğiz. Şimdi bu noktadan sonra hemen geçiyorum, Gökhan'a sözü vereceğim. It's going to be in English.
Switch to English.
Türkçe'ye
geçiyoruz. İngilizce'ye geçiyoruz. Tamam. İstersen Türkçe İngilizce karışık yapabiliriz.
Bence yapalım ya.
Tamam, okay. We're going to do a mix of Turkish and English.
Internet language. Bu arada bizi burada ev sahipliği yapan Burcu ya çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Başında da sonunda da burası demiştim Modül İstanbul. Bir ara belki söz alırsan Burcu'cum bahsedersen burası nasıl bir yer? Evet, 40 dakikanın üstüne çıkmamaya çalışacağız. Zaten de yoruluruz burada spotların altında. Evet, so
what we're going to do is we got these cards and I'm going to take the cards out. I'm going to show you guys the cards. And then you guys are going to, I'm going to pick. Should I pick one? Yeah, I'll pick one.
Pick one, but the other one can also say I want to say.
Yeah, and then we pick one, and then whatever that card, the concept is, you can verbalize that. Yani kart göstereceğim, diyeceğim ki Melike Altınışık bu kart hakkında ne düşünüyorsun? O da bir şey diyecek veya siz de isterseniz araya girebilirsiniz. We start. Yeah, of course. I'm very trusted game show host. So, we start with Melike Altınışık with this.
Oh! No, turn it.
You have to turn it.
Oh, shit.
No, the other way.
Oh, this way.
It could be anyway, I guess. Oh my god.
What is it? Say it.
Comfort. I don't know about comfort. Certainly not if you're walking.
It's very comfortable.
Platform.
So these, I think, are these are not Zahas, are they?
No, they are not. I was checking, but they are not.
They are not Zahas, but from the same company.
They're experimental.
They're from
shoe design,
what was the
United,
which you did it, UN, Rem Koolhaas's.
Yes, I love the
nephews.
Shoes from them.
The nephews.
Can you walk in them?
I was hoping
not this one. I was getting
so these shoes, technically, yani, you could walk in these if you wanted. They're not
No,
you
but
know.
when I look
What would
at
you do with
them,
these shoes?
These
they're
shoes are
comfortable
made-
still, even though they.
A woman can
They
walk
are
in every
comfortable.
kind of
A
shoes
shoe.
if she
Okay,
wants.
so basically you're saying you would wear these shoes even though because they're
Just only
designed
when you are posing.
when posing. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say they're context-specific walking. They're not for all
Right,
terrains,
right,
but it's
right.
not all-terrain walking.
Right, it's a-
Terrain.
Actually,
Yeah.
probably the balance of this is interesting. Yani bunun bir denge meselesi var değil mi? Biraz öne doğru. There's no heel technically.
Exactly.
There's no heel technically. Okay, so that was interesting. This was
was a
this
shock.
was çok enteresan. Bu neydi markası tekrar? UN. Rem Koolhaas's nephew.
Nephew.
Nephew. Okay, so
Hala yaşıyor mu marka?
yeah.
In
I have a
LA,
story.
stores in
I have a story to
LA
tell.
mainly.
Quick story.
But first time when I discovered them, it was 2005 in
or
London
6, yes.
in a store, like in the back part
Behind
of
of
the store.
Covent Garden.
Actually, my brother got one pair for my graduation from AA, like the
That's-
black ones.
Collector's items. Don't sell them. I have them signed.
I remember them.
Long time ago, really long.
I bought my wife one of these as a sneaker, and I thought, oh, it's a comfortable shoe. And she said, why'd you get me a sneaker? It's not, it's not the most flashy looking. So I had, in fact, exact opposite story. I got my wife a practical sneaker from this
Okay.
thing, and she didn't like it as much as I got this one. I learned something. Next, Alexis Şanal. Hold on. Hold on.
Okay.
It's stuck.
Oh dear
She
God.
doesn't know it.
Oh, geez. Well, I don't know if it's a design object or a composition of. Yeah.
So, this is, you got to say something. Say something. Bir şey söyle.
Well, it's a very textured black.
Oh, I know what this is.
What is it?
Ceramic bir şey.
Bilemedim.
I can answer this. This
It's Nilüfer's.
yeah, it's Nilüfer's design. It's this design. Yeah, it's a kind of organic, crafty kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very
We
textured.
exhibited this 3 years ago at the London Design Fair.
London Design
Fair.
Fair.
I missed it.
Yeah,
No,
it
the
was-
idea behind this is one flat sheet of copper. So the guys, they
Hammer it.
hammer it, and it becomes this thing. I did,
We needed to know the story of this.
of course, it's for fun, and I'm like,
It was quite. It's technically it's a vase.
it's a vase.
It's a vase. It's a vase. You can take the-
I see.
It's
Okay, so
It's a one-off, one-time, like it's.
we gotta move on.
How big it is?
Sure. Ufak değil.
So the most they can do is I understand the question. The biggest they can accomplish by hammering, blowing. It's kind of like blowing by hammer. Is like 20-25 centimeters with a thickness of diameter.
I mean, it's quite extraordinary once you start looking at all the details. Once you get the
Yeah.
and how the fact that it's handcrafted makes it even like now that you can see all the
It's
shaping of the hand and stuff and all the smaller. Especially if it's out of a sheet, it's quite extraordinary.
In fact, that was the name of the exhibition.
Yeah.
Was based on the hand. It was called the Hidden Hand. It was I curated this exhibition.
I mean, at this moment, there are two things that we.
But these
better
ones you have to
discuss
see
is-
in the round. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
also the this
No,
makes
no,
it so
hold on.
flat, and the figure ground you can only see the figure ground on it. That's
I know it's too black.
Yeah, it's
the,
too
the
black.
printer,
That's why I
the
also
print.
put
Yeah, it's
ceramic.
black.
yeah, I thought too.
Although it
It's
looks
also
kind of weird
interesting.
this way.
I'm shocked that it's also copper
It's more
because
brown. It's more brown in real
It
life.
does, yeah, you can only now start to see. So it reveals itself in very different ways. I think as long as
This is a good moment to talk about Adorno.
Oh yeah, Adorno. Yeah, you're
It's
on
in
Adorno.
It's on sale
You're
in
on Adorno.
Adorno. And Adorno
you're still on
is
sale,
a
Adorno.
sales, is a, say again. What's
Kapı
Adorno?
açık sana. Adorno is a digital collectible design website where we have design objects that are either limited edition or one-offs, such as our friend Özlem Yalım's very important yorgan with that with the what's it called, the yorgan again?
Yeah, cute.
What's it called?
It is B2, B1. There
That.
are two different designs.
And there are only a very limited amount of these produced.
On custom made on per.
Custom
on
made
Right.
and whatever. Can you find it again? Maybe not. This is like
So you have
this.
one copy, right? There's two
Yes,
copies.
I always have one copy. but when it's demanded, I make it done by a sewer in hand, and I post it around the world.
So this collectible design is an area that we've been working on for a while because it gives you an opportunity to work with one-off objects as with craftsmen and makers, and then sell directly online to adorno.design. So do that. Okay. Who's next? We do you know what these are, so what
Never ask me. I will say something anyway for each.
Melike'ye döneceğim tekrar.
No.
Kerem'e gidiyoruz. Kerem ve Merve, ready, set, go. Hold on. Şöyle.
Ters. Ne yan tutuyor? Şöyle çevir.
Öyle mi? Öyle mi?
Evet böyle böyle.
Öyle mi?
Doğru. Evet.
Doğru.
Okay.
I'm curious, yeah.
I think it's also the photographs are so beautifully composed. It can use direction.
I'm enjoying it so much.
It looks like the Louis Vuitton chaise designed by
Yeah.
Hold on.
for the
Let's show it to the camera.
Yeah, show it to the camera so they can see our
see.
kind of disoriented.
It's actually again a collaboration in terms of it's not evident who did.
It's
It's named after both of them. It's like Charlotte.
I think she did it.
I want to do it as well.
I think she did it.
Because when in
think she
design and architecture world, when a woman does the design in collaboration with his husband or lover or partner,
then
it
the
is always said to be in a collaborative way.
Yeah.
But when it's the guy that is who is the designer, it is his name.
Yeah. I think this is
So
Charlotte
I-
Perrion. I think.
Can I
So
agree?
believing
No.
that is Charlotte's design.
Yeah. So, but this is interesting because this is I think in the world of design, this period was very important because we were just architects and things like this, but this period really in terms of a lifestyle and these kind of very difficult types of design objects really started to
And
flourish.
also this couple is very important because they are also a big love story altogether.
Really?
Yeah, because they love each other and their stories all.
That's why it's quite an important story.
in this potential of
Nice haircut.
bringing life to an object together, whether it's husband and wife, in this case you are, but you used to know each other before as well.
But they
or
create together, co-creation all the time.
co-creation is interesting.
But back to
The
this
love
history, though. I mean,
motivated, so it's
What
Well, hold on.
I'm
Let's get back to
taking the
let's
body
get. You guys are designing chairs and things like. What would you like sit in this chaise longue for a long period of time? I mean, obviously, is it rocking back and forth?
yeah,
it's very comfortable.
It's a rocking. It's a rocking.
It's very comfortable. I like that.
I think
What?
it's comfortable.
I think it's very sexy.
Yes,
Right.
you're right.
Right.
By the way.
Interesting. Okay. Next, Özlem Yalım.
Oh my God.
Hold on, I go.
Ta. I wonder what she will say about
Like
this.
it's this way.
I hate these. Oh my God. Yes, I'm an industrial designer, so it's very good. It's a wheelchair.
It's a foldable
It's a It's a foldable bicycle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
a
looking at
foldable
the
bicycle.
What do you think about
bicycle,
folded
yes.
bicycles?
I'm a bicycle
Let me
rider.
show
I'm
it.
a very nice bicycle rider, but I don't like these city bikes because short in performance and they are not so practical. Every morning I see in the boat some guys who are trying to
Fold, right. Well, maybe they need a better industrial designer like yourself
maybe
to design
there are
this.
lots of design alternatives.
I think you
and
need
it
to get in
should
this
be done
area.
in a very proper way in order to be very efficient in some way. But every morning I see them and oh my God. poor
Can you say
guy.
something about this as somebody that's seen
I
people
really
try
don't
to
know
fold
who does
No,
bicycles?
it's not like what it is in terms of
But
like
the idea is
the idea of like for us is usually the form, right? How does it look? But in a bicycle, how does it perform? I mean, performance is an interesting criteria.
For a bicycle, especially in Istanbul, because we have hills and downs.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult.
It is really very tough to ride a bicycle, even in a very well designed bicycle. With these ones, it's quite trouble. So,
Yes.
and also it's not safe because you're on the roads and the drivers are really very harsh to the riders. So I'm never gonna buy one of these, but it is a good idea to be in a European country or European city, which is more than flat. It is very useful for short distances, so it's good.
Also, yeah, as a mode of transport, you can take it to the train, to the tram,
Yes.
metro.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good.
To the
But
bus.
I kind of feel like the electric shared scooter has replaced any need for something like this. I
Yes,
mean, I
you're right.
use the electric shared scooter.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for this because it's everywhere, that thing. You just hop on it and go.
And
You have hill problems, that's the only
The
problem.
martılar, burada Türkçe'ye döneyim. Martılar gerçekten çok inanılmaz yaygın bir şekilde
Evet,
kullanılıyor.
evet.
Her yerde görüyorsunuz ve bizim özellikle evin oradaki yükseklerde de
Evet.
herkes o elektrikli martılarla.
Evet.
Boğaz Köprüsü'nün girişine kadar geliyorlar mesela, orada metrobüse binip bırakıyorlar, böyle sıra sıra martı cennetleri var. It's replaced.
We're living in the age
Ben
of.
duysam bunu asla ben İstanbul'da bu kadar çalışacak bir proje olduğuna inanmazdım mesela.
Değil mi?
Martı'nın.
Nasıl oldu?
Hiç yani.
Pandemide biraz tabii.
Pandeminin çok bence
Pandemi.
pozitif
Pandemi
etkisi de-
etkisi var ama yani kullanıcı olarak şunu diyebilirim. Yani bazen mesela geçen hafta Cuma akşam taksi yok.
Evet evet.
Yani
It is really
metro binmek istemiyorsun.
It's really trouble.
Ben de kullanıyorum ama
Yani.
hani o şeyi düşünmezdim o kadar
But
başarılı
we were
olacağını.
doing, the metro or the other stuff. But it's crowded now, so everybody
Yes, that's
prefer to be alone. And in Istanbul, there's a huge transport problem. It's another issue.
Exactly. With the traffic.
Oh, this is interesting. I should explain
Who
first.
will?
So go back to Melike.
Merve.
Merve. Merve. This is kind of, I don't know what the
I
hell
have to
this is.
explain Merve.
What is this?
This is.
Well, don't explain it. Let's
No,
get
no,
some
she
in
wouldn't
reaction.
know. She
In
doesn't know
reaction.
from
Let her
this.
react, man. Let her react.
Let her just see it.
Let her react.
Because the images are beautiful too. The compositions of the images are very kind of interestingly deceitful.
Next time I'm going to ask you to give images.
No, they're nice images. They're nice images. What is it? I have no idea. Bir dakika. Özlem'e
A
göstereceğim.
vertical
Evet.
cephe kaplaması, which is each one is aquarium
it's a
with a
glass
frog inside.
Oh, yeah, it's
Are they
okay. So
Are
it's
they frogs, the black dots?
So the guy is
Hold on. Let me show the camera.
Architectural, you know them, the living.
the black
They are
dots are
from
the
the AA, and this idea of living architecture or living.
Your old partners were doing involved. The algae
They are
people,
still.
the
They are
algae.
still. So, what do you think about kind of like the living part of the design?
Like biofilm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are
biophilic.
also a lot of
But this is
organisms.
this is
in every
biourbanism
design we do.
technically,
You just
right?
don't see them because of their scale, but
In
here
fact,
you recognize.
there are humans in the
Also,
design that we make. That's what I'm. It's interesting, no? There
Hold
are
on, Merve was
humans
supposed to
basically
answer
with
this question.
biophilia.
Merve, bunun hakkında ne düşünüyorsun? Çünkü sen cevap vermen
Quite
gerek.
disturbing actually.
Could disturbing, interesting.
Yeah, I feel a bit disturbed.
Because of the black dot of the frog?
Like because of the idea the frog is kept in a like in a cave.
Yeah.
You want to free the frogs?
Science fiction cemetery of frogs.
It's like a new episode of Black.
We need to free the frogs.
Yeah, free the frogs.
Freedom for the frogs.
It
Hold
just
up.
reminded that you know those keychains.
How do you feed the frog, though?
I think Chinese or the Japanese they
feed
hold
the
it with a fish inside.
What do you think about them?
I think it's very similar to this.
What?
Is it the real?
There's a keychain. I think
Yes, they are real.
They are real. There's a real fish inside the keychain.
Ah.
I mean, you carry it with you, but it's like little stuck inside. I think you keep it till it dies.
It's like this.
Can't be that long.
I have an aquarium in the
You
workshop.
cannot feed it. It's just kept inside. I think you.
So it has a limited lifespan.
Yeah, I think
It literally has a
It just
limited
reminded me
lifespan.
that. When I see
Yeah, terrariums, for example, that I work on, I like terrariums, and a lot of people are really agonized by them, saying it's captivated But we live in a world that is limited in terms of space and time, so it's interesting.
Yeah, right now we're in a period where over the last 10 years, all these biological, natural elements are being integrated into architecture and design, so this is indicative of that. We have biophilic design, which I do. We have biourbanism. We have biomimicry. You know, so it's a rich time for this kind of work.
There's an article, and there's yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I need to explain them.
Why aren't you answering any questions?
Okay, I'll answer
maybe
this
the next
one.
one to you.
Hold on.
Really? Oh my god. It's a Danish design. Right?
Danish designer. Who is it?
Oh,
Paul Christensen.
Okay.
Paul Christensen.
yeah, Danish is Danish.
The lamp, right?
So can you?
Yeah,
what can you?
I can talk about lighting.
Yeah, like talk about it for what? Like this is what kind of lamp?
Oh, this is about the 60s. Very decorative, highly decorative, but it's the era of a very exciting moment of what when the designers discovered new materials.
Right.
And their folding options, their production options. So
What is this material?
It is
Plastic?
it's
Polycarbonate,
Yeah,
right.
it's a very leaf-flat polycarbonate. Now we use it for in kitchens as well. So it is, I think, inspired by the Japanese folding paper or something, because all the 60s lighting designers, especially like Noguchi or many more examples, are really very inspired by the Japanese art, and this is one of the examples as well. But the shade of light is blue.
Yeah, what's the quality of light here that you're getting?
It is very diffused. It is very, but in the living spaces, especially in the houses, in the living rooms, we recommend this type of lighting because the circadian lighting is very important.
Yes.
We don't recommend this direct LED.
Okay. Now that you mentioned that very important word, we have to define what that is.
What is that?
Circadian lighting.
Yeah, circadian light, not lighting.
Well,
but
again,
light,
back to our more biological,
Cycle
natural
rhythms.
circadian.
It's our hormonal cycle, and lighting has a very enormous effect on that. It is proven by scientists in 2017. But it is good. It is cute for design, so I like it so
It's
much.
almost ubiquitous now.
Yeah.
This
As
one.
you said, it's a
IKEA has lots of similar knockoffs of this design,
Yeah,
I
of
would
course, but
think.
every design has the so
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna give me one.
the original. Now you have to answer.
Ooh. Oh, this is a good one for you.
Ask him.
I know, exactly. Fake.
Oh, that's my thing. That's my design, man. Hold on. So I was doing this work a number of years ago. So I was working on I was working on aperiodic tiling, three-dimensional tiling, which is not very often discussed. Usually everybody discusses two-dimensional tiling. So this was a three-dimensional tiling based on the work of this mathematician called Thomas Amann. The guy figured out a kind of three-dimensional tiling system, which is aperiodic. So aperiodic means it doesn't repeat. It goes on to infinity without the tiling
Beautiful.
repeating. So we actually were working with Hanif Kara's office in London, some of the engineers there, who derived and helped us get the pattern from mathematics to an actual model. And then we made, as a design office, a version of this, which is slightly three-dimensional in marble mosaic, put together by craft and hand. So it's a combination of like mathematics and craft, and also it kind of points to my obsession with medieval Turkic and Islamic architecture.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
One of my favorites.
Exactly.
Lovely.
I was born in. My family is from this place called Niksal in Tokat, which is the center of the Danishment architecture, which is this. So I grew up with a lot of this medieval architecture. I think it had an effect on me, so that's why I've been doing it now. So interesting. Thanks. Thanks. Okay, so we're back to
Melike, finally.
Oh, cool. But she has to explain.
Oh, you got to explain.
No, Melike,
she
has
has
to explain.
She will explain.
It's
Come
there,
on.
it's up there.
Yes.
You need to
Well,
explain.
you talked about the circadian cycles, and this was inspired by the space in between, inspired by a bit of Nilüfer's work, who looks at the volumes and the kind of voluptuous shapes that kind of can deconstruct concrete and the
It's
heaviness.
those there. Maybe we can grab one there.
Grab one.
Yeah, take a look at it.
And
So what material is this?
this is all mosaic, and
Right.
it's a series of different earthen materials of marble and terracotta and other things, and resins and silica. And
It's a cementous object.
Cementous, yeah.
Right.
And the
And
idea
what's
is-
the function?
is a hanger.
Right,
So,
like this.
a
Right.
daily hanger that you can kind of touch and put your daily objects on, like your scarves and your
So
headphones.
it's got a haptic quality, you're saying.
Very haptic quality.
Right.
And it's supposed to celebrate the movement of the celestial world, to bring that consciousness that we are
Right.
part of, you know, stardust, for lack of a better word. And our Earth is part of, you know, this, you know, billions years of materials that we use now to create these
Very
objects.
timely
and we should be
work,
grateful
yes.
for, you know, this billion years of.
Does the base? It
It's,
has a base too, or is that part of the design? Or
The base is to kind of contextualize the object and to reflect the beauty of behind. So it's a three-dimensional object, and the mosaics and the handcrafting take off the surface, so you can actually see how
Right.
inside, again, that kind of more celestial, how it actually
If you hang.
settles.
Right.
Like we don't think about the sediments of the city anymore. We take it granted of the geology of where we come from. We take advantage that the sun rises every day. And this is to just put a humble consciousness when you hang your watch, when you come home,
you can have it. Right.
that we are
Now-
part of something.
To ask a little bit about your work, I mean, you're an architect, but you occasionally do design. Like, in what instances does this design work present itself to you, and why do you pursue that?
Well, one of the reasons, especially, is that I like working with other people.
Right.
So Nilüfer has this beautiful
Co-create,
atelier,
collaborative, okay.
and I like learning from them and collaborating. So this object, although it seems very humble and simple, took many, many recipes to get to both
imagine.
kind of exploit the mosaic, but then also hide it.
It's,
And then only reveal it in the back. So it was actually one of the things that excites me about designing objects is that collaboration between the contemporary ustas,
But it is,
Yes.
our lady ustas.
it is not by chance, and you worked especially to hide it or to show it? Oh, okay, this is an effort.
This is a very long effort to very carefully hide it and show it, and then to have one that is also very subtle that way, but then catches
How many
the light
different?
in a different way.
We have three.
Three. These are three, and they're all. These are the colors.
And
Pink,
we package them as
Kind of
3
olive,
and 2.
light olive, and dark color.
Yeah.
Can you? And as Urban Atölye Nilüfer, what of Urban Atölye's product strategy does this reflect? Like, what are you trying to do here in terms of? Because we have Melike's previous work, and for example, candles, and now we have this. Well, what can you say about these as the brand itself? What are you trying to do there?
The main idea of the brand is, for sure, I can say this, to bring together handcraft and digital technologies. That's for sure, underline. In both cases, there wouldn't be these objects if there wasn't the predomination of the digital plus the kind of like the effects of the handcraft. I mean, you see here, it's scary on one side, for example. We still manifest the fact because it's we know is done by hand. There's a mold, there's a person who's doing it, and these elements, when they come together, they perform in such a way. The same is true for the candles and the candle holders. So there is the digital counterpart and there is the physical, and we are trying to interweave that as a sort of, how would you say, what does an urban atelier do? What
Right.
does Bottega, in terms of the old times, do in a setting? How do you bring knowledge together? To be honest, university graduated hand workers, designers, thinkers, and thinkers is what we have in the moment.
So you guys
Urban
are
Atölye is
thinker makers.
yeah.
Right.
Tinker makers.
And Urban Atölye is, where is it
Thinker
located?
makers, not tinker makers.
Maslak.
Which is where we're now. And where can we purchase these fine items?
We purchased them here.
And where are we? At Modül İstanbul, you can buy all this. Okay.
But in
many other
Hippicon and
Online
in
at
larger quantities, like in for restaurants, for reception halls, etc. For example, you can buy from us directly.
And in terms of future work, is this the vein in which you're going to continue as Urban Atölye?
Yeah, we do installations, as you know. We collaborate on that together. We do design work directly from us, or we produce for others. Sometimes we produce, but you don't know that we produce. We produce as what do you call that?
Yeah. You're a private label.
Façon.
Façon, private
And
label.
we're happy because production is always teaches you. I mean, you learn so much from constant production that it's very valuable for
And
me.
also, it's important to keep a production site alive all the time. And
Exactly.
when it comes to design, it's not an ongoing job, especially nowadays. So you need to do such kind of job in
Continuation.
order to make you go on.
Yeah.
Congrats.
We
And how long this is Urban Atölye has been around for? How many
we
years?
started the workshop in 2009, but we branded it as an Urban Atölye, and starting to have products by 2015.
Great. And you also do other things too as an architect, right? This is
Yeah,
the point.
yeah. This is a good moment for collaboration. And I do believe in minds coming together, hands coming together, and in this day and age, I think with good hearts, of course, there's a lot of momentum from producing together.
Okay, so we're at 35
No,
minutes
no,
now.
we should
We have
finish
2
that.
more cards.
Yeah.
So let's start it. Melike, what is this? What's your reaction to this?
Make it, tell us.
Some experimental. I don't know.
What material do you think it
That's
is?
what I'm thinking about. What material
it-
is it? But
is it-
first I thought it's
Is it
stone.
ceramic, stone,
No, first I
paper?
thought it's stone, but it's not stone. No?
No.
Is it
It
paper?
is something. It has something
Plaster?
living organism in it.
Exactly. This
But
time,
I have no idea what
this
it
time I want to ask Unica again because they received the previous image. When it is alive, it's certainly problematic. I totally agree. I feel this is the dead version of the mycel. You know, you get the mycelium, the fungus. You breed them,
Inside
you
something.
turn them into these molds. When you come to the workshop, we are working on one at the moment, you will see. I mean, to be frank, experimentation is part of like half of my life. This is from Switzerland, Etache, where...
But you did also
I
some work
did.
like that.
So these
Maybe
brick-like
but this is
things are
already, you know, they
mycelium.
produce, they are
So this is part of this.
These pieces are mycelium.
mycelium, but
Okay,
they are
grown-
dead.
grown in a
Grown
form.
into
Okay,
this
yeah, yeah,
form and
yeah.
then heated, and they're dead now. They are used as insulation
You kill
material
them
in...
or they're
Sorry?
dying in their own?
Huh?
You kill them by heating or?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like killing, but this is interesting. Organisms think about, okay, let's turn our heads to the fact of kettle. I mean, Unica is working with leather, and I love the fact that you work with leather.
Very biophilic.
In a way, you kind of like it. So, how do we? Oh, it's a discussion.
Yeah, it's
It
a big
It is
discussion.
a big
yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
It's a big topic.
And you
because
know,
they like
if we extend the examples not only in design and in different fields of life, humans are always in the same way, behaving in the same way. So I do believe that no one can judge the other's production methods and the materials and etc.
Yeah. Like we used cement, and cement is a big problem.
But
But we also
frogs
used a little
are
bit
really bad
polyester.
idea.
What?
Free the frogs.
Free the frogs. Okay.
Not frogs. Anything.
So
Enough
Them
frogs.
frogs.
We're at 40 minutes now. We got the last card. No, we got 2 more cards. Hold on. We got 2 more. We got one for Alexis here. This is actually very good for Alexis. I think she'll like this.
Yeah.
And the last for Kerem.
Oh, dear.
This island.
This lovely little porcelain bowl.
Yeah,
Looks like it's from Kütahya area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Wow.
So why would you say it's from Kütahya? What leads you to that?
They have a very beautiful understanding of their wildflowers, actually,
Right.
and they only have a very limited number of natural materials they can make porcelain coloring from.
Right.
And the blue and the yellow that they have, the yellow is actually quite unique, and then the red is.
What do you mean the yellow is quite unique? It's like, is that a natural dye? It's
As
like-
a natural dye for that time period's ability to do ceramics.
Right, okay. So
And
this is a
so
historical piece, not a
This
new
is
piece.
definitely, well, I don't know if it's a new
It's
piece,
historical,
but it
1800s.
looks like a very much a historical piece, and it's very much of their.
What is the purpose of this?
Lemon squeezer.
Well, it's a lemon
squeezer.
squeezer.
Oh,
A
there
lemon
you go.
squeezer. They had lemon squeezers 200 years
It's interesting that they had citrus, actually.
True. 1800.
ago. Oranges everywhere in
Wow.
Turkish,
Then-
Aegean, and
But these
Mediterranean.
flowers are quite beautifully.
The history of these ceramics, you say Kütahya, I mean, there's many other écoles, let's say.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
the Çanakkale and there's the Iznik. As somebody that's like me came to Turkey later on, how could you describe the different types of ceramics in Turkey and how it relates to the Turkish culture? Like, what about it reflects Turkish culture for you?
I think one of the most interesting things for me is the different regions had different heights of depicting the natural world.
Right.
So as closer you get to Istanbul, the more the flowers became regal in some ways,
Right.
and more they became tame and abstracted. Where these flowers you can see are still quite wild, for lack of a better word, and they're still trying to capture. You can even see the compositions of the smaller with the bigger, and then they don't hide the weeds, for the lack of a better
Right.
word.
It is-
And the colors are quite different.
There's also this, there's a lot of this
But
in
just-
textiles too. We see this.
Yeah, but I'd like to add something with the patterns, because when it comes to Islamic art, as you know,
Yeah.
in Chinese pottery or in Danish or in Dutch pottery, you see life scenes and people and human houses and etc. But in Islamic art, of course, we are not able to figurize.
Iconoclasm.
Yeah, iconoclasm. So it is always a mastership in flowers and nature. And so when we distinguish these geographics, historical patterns, both in textiles and pottery and etc., we are always experts on color, natural dyes, and flowers and nature. It is very amazing how they modified and how they created more and more different patterns each time. To be different is the first motive of a designer, so they always try to be different from the previous works.
So their narrow scope of iconography in Turkish culture really presented the ground to do a lot of different.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the last one. Kime gidiyor bu?
Birisi gördü.
Merve'ye. Kerem'e Merve'ye.
Bu da, this is also from Urban Atölye. I know, I'm familiar with the design.
Yes.
The designer is here.
No, I didn't know that you were the
Yeah,
designer
yeah.
of this. I'm sorry, but I know it's from the Urban Atölye.
What are these?
Meliflus.
They're candle holders and candles on the top.
Yes. Can you
Candles
describe
altogether.
It's very difficult
They're
to
integrated.
describe this one, but for me, one of the interesting part of this design is actually trying to find, in a way, transition between two totally contrast materials, which is the candle,
Which is
the
the-
wax,
the upper part.
and the concrete. So, designing this transition between these two materials in one candle holder, because it's candle holder and candle at the same time, so it's a in-between situation. So especially they spent, I mean, Nilüfer and her atelier spent so much time to be able to create this transition part between the wax and the concrete, and we succeed, but of course it took a lot of experimentational processes. But at the end of today, in a way, it's also like when you conceptually, when you start describing it, it's like the in-between situation when the candle really melts, like it's trying to represent that moment. And when it also, the candle finishes, we can redo it. How can I say?
We
like
can
refill,
mold
but
it.
remold, like not
How does that
refill, but
work?
you remold it.
We
That's
have
also
the
another
mold.
terminology you add into that
Geri
design
gönderiyoruz.
process.
They bring it back, we wax it again, we send it back. There's, for example, one at the moment in the...
We call in Turkish alameti farika. Does anyone know how to translate it?
I
into
don't
English?
know.
Yeah,
It's the alameti farika. Every design has its alameti farika. It is hard to translate now, but it's the unique part. And you remember when you showed me this design for the first time? It was the thing that I asked about the candles. What about the candles?
Yeah, that's the first
so
question.
Your design also tells about this. It is very known that you're buying something else. It is not a candle holder. So you see it and you are curious about that. What about the candles? What will I do?
Because it's something out of standard, and it's not something that you see every day in your life. Also, practically, it doesn't work the same way. So then you have to ask that question. It's the first question it comes usually. Like, how can I reuse it when it's finished?
This is a very interesting point that they usually ask, and you have all been in such discussion points. They always ask that what's the difference between art and design in our lives.
Ah.
And this is the exact, very beautiful example for this, because an artist is not responsible for describing what his artwork here, his or her artwork is all about.
Yeah.
But the designer has the responsibility to put it forward, and
does
we don't need any question marks when we are facing with a design. We have to understand it, how to use it, and the difference is it. And when you see this design, we understand that what you are trying to do with the contrast materials and your production methods, and this is very interesting. We bring you back and you mold it again. So, but this is a unique example for design.
And to add on your words, like when we first started this collaboration, actually I was very excited about it, because collaboration is really a sacred word for us. Like especially for me and Nilüfer, we have a long story back, and it has been always coming up in a couple of years. And here, like she was also mentioning, like it's not just about the design and the outcome which is on the table, you know, after that process, but actually the process itself is very important for us. So first we designed this, okay, we are using the technological advantages, modeling in 3D, fluid forms, whatever, like that process is also interesting. But later on we used in our office this 3D printing machine. We printed the positive part of the design. We gave them to Nilüfer, and then for me the most interesting part started, because they had to create the negative of that design, and this is the molding part, and then finding very interesting solution for that molding to be able to create this transition and to keep it also under control. So and at the end these pieces,
So I really am questioning this design to be questionable, and you becoming responsible for what your design. This is really an interesting topic. On the other hand, I want to, we are almost like finalize with this note that you kind of like want to bring your life together with design. What I'm saying is, people who buy these elements are not going to buy them because they're so functional, but because they make their life more interesting, because they want to invest in a place like Urban Atölye, because they believe in something that is handmade, because you kind of like invest your time and energy. I know you guys also, you touch each item while they are, you know, coming out of your workshop. It's so special that somebody handmade it. It's like your mother's cookie, and it's more valuable. There is this topic of circular design in these days, and I must confess that having a workshop is the least sustainable thing for most parts. Like the material flow, we're not that efficient. But on the other hand, being a workshop and working with local materials and local workmanship, etc., is very sustainable and very interesting. So it's enjoyable. I'm very happy.
And for me, I have to add also on this, that atelier, I think it's a very important example for new generation, also for us. Like for me, it's an escape position because I can do their experiments in that scale. And then that idea comes for me in one day, in a big scale, in a project, like in architectural scale, like from the object design to really like in between scales, we can enlarge that research. So for me, that's why also it's
the research.
The research
Being
part
able to
becomes
continue
also
the
very
research.
exciting and
I think it's
interesting.
here also a dominant part of your design, the material search and the form research.
I remember, you know, coming to the workshop, we were having, I don't want to say fun, but it's like joyous, it's juicy to meet in the workshop and think about, you know, how do we do this?
How long did it take?
1 year.
Oh my god.
We met in the pandemic.
But it's good to discuss this because everybody thinks that design is done this way. So
No, more than you wish.
How many trials? We are working on a digital
we are like
app at the moment.
all
We
designers.
have tried at least 200,000 times, the guy told me. I didn't know. I mean, how many times do you have to try? I mean, there's the design, there's the prototyping, and then there's also a period for testing.
Yes.
How many times anything can be tested? What I mean, as a workshop, how much resource can I have to test things for, you know,
Yeah,
1,000
on your
times?
own because I'm making the time longer, but in other than Turkey, all the countries have funds for such laboratories and for such institutions, and we see some guys doing some algae thing and some others are working with different materials and 3D prints technologies or leather or anything else, but they are all funded by the governments and institutions. But in Turkey, we are doing by our own budget.
All German leather designers are funded. I've seen and met.
All of the designers and especially the experimentation
Yeah.
processes like yours are supported
never
by
self-
institutions.
yeah.
And when it comes to talk about mass power of design, this is something that I put my life on, but you know, it is a unique example that you're doing on your own. It is very important.
Not on my own.
Yeah, yeah.
Collaborate.
All together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
shout
you
out.
for anyone.